Unveiling 3 sinister and spine-chilling true janitor horror stories revealed from haunted places. Linda hesitated at the entrance to Riverbend High School, an eerie shadow stretching like long fingers across cracked concrete. A once vibrant beacon of hope now reduced to a husk, it loomed over her with threats wrapped in whispers. Memories of laughter echoed faintly through the empty halls, tainted by the chilling tales of hauntings swirling in the community like a dark cloud. The heartbeat of the town had slowed, and deep down, Linda knew she was stepping into the jaws of something sinister. As she pushed the heavy door open, a gust of stale air greeted her, heavy with the scent of mildew and decay. The fluorescent lights flickered, casting strange shadows that danced just out of sight. Every locker, once adorned with bright stickers and personal touches, now sat silent and foreboding, a testament to the lives once filled with hope. Alone in this desolation, her heart raced, yet a flicker of determination ignited within. She needed this job, her children depended on it. Something felt wrong, as if the air thickened with apprehension. Linda began her shift, armed with a mop and bucket, and as the minutes stretched into hours, the unsettling quiet morphed into an oppressive weight. Echoes of soft whispers unfurled through the hallways, curling around her like serpents, chilling her to the bone. A fleeting glance in the corner of her eye sent her pulse racing. Shadows seemed to slink away, darting just out of reach, a figment of her fatigue or something much darker? The doubt festered in her mind, etching paranoia into her bones. Then came Greg, the maintenance man, with a grin that felt too wide for comfort. He moved easily in the shadows, offering help, but there was something lurking behind those eyes, a flicker of something unholy. As he shared stories of the school's past, especially the tale of a student, lost and never found, Linda couldn't shake the sense that Greg knew more than he let on. The economic struggles hammered the town hard, exposing a predatory side to her neighbors she never wanted to believe. They wore smiles that hid despair, mirrored in the dark recesses of the school. Fear ultimata crept closer as doors slammed shut with a deafening bang, when no wind could be found. Each night morphed into a waking nightmare, and the chilling realization that she was not alone gripped her. She felt eyes haunting her every move, deep and penetrating. The local authorities portrayed themselves as guardians, but all they left behind were layers of unanswered questions and a town clinging to whispers of denial. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With clenching dread, Linda waded deeper into the shadows, determined to unravel the remnants of a town beguiled by fear. She stumbled upon the yearbook of the vanished student, its pages dog-eared and yellowed, revealing a link to a secret that entwined past and present. Every whispered incident, every shut door had led her closer to an unspeakable truth, one that threaded through the heart of Riverbend High, a darkness that now sought to tether itself to her family. And then came the final blow. The chilling phone call ripped through her thoughts, cracking the fragile facade of her resolve, her children terrified, pleading for their mother to return home. Every instinct screamed at her, urging her not to delay. The school's malicious energy coiled tighter around her, seconds felt like hours, and she realized she was perilously close to uncovering a truth that might lash back with unforgiving wrath. With shadows gathering once more, she took a deep breath, clutching the phone, a looming question echoing in her heart. Would she ever make it home to protect the ones she loved? Linda's heart drummed violently in her chest, every beat an urgent reminder of the life waiting for her outside those foreboding walls. The school's malevolent whispers intensified around her, twisting and writhing through the air, taunting her with secrets that had laid dormant for too long. She clutched the phone like a lifeline, its cool surface now feeling like a deadly weight in her palm. "Mom, please, just come home." The voice of her son was frantic, overlaid with a garbled distortion that sent shivers racing down her spine. She could almost visualize his eyes wide with terror reflecting the same shadows that seemed alive in the corridor. With a hiss, the fluorescent lights flickered violently overhead. She couldn't stay here. That single thought propelled her forward, feet moving apprehensively through the darkness. Yet the school was a labyrinth, hallways elongated as if mocking her escape. The whispers morphed, coalescing into a cacophony of laughter childlike and haunting. She turned a corner, and there was Greg, leaning casually against the wall, his grin deepening as if soaking up her fear. There was something sickly sweet about his composure, something that sent bile rising in her throat. "You're in quite a bit of a hurry, aren't you?" he said, each word dripping with a false cordiality that set her on edge. "Where's the nearest exit?" she replied sharply, eyes darting, desperate for an escape. "Why do you think I'm here?" He stepped closer, a shadow slipping through the dim light. "I want to help you. This school, it has big plans. It watches. Knows everything." Each word slithered through Linda's mind like a serpent, coiling tighter and tighter until panic seized her lungs. She stepped back, drawing closer to the ghostly echoes of the past. Memories long buried began to seep into her thoughts as tantalizing waves of fear surged around her. Images of that lost student flashed before her eyes, lost but not gone. The chill rippled through Linda, cold fear wrapping around her spine. "Leave me alone!" she screamed, wheeling to the right. But the hallway twisted, elongating as if the school itself conspired against her, pulling her deeper into the shadows that thrived in the absence of sunlight. Greg's laughter echoed after her, hollow and mocking, reverberating off the walls like a haunting melody. "You can't run from the truth. We're all connected, you, me, it, the lost one, no." She drowned out his words with frantic footsteps, barreling through the haunting echo. Suddenly, a loud crash shattered the air, followed by the unmistakable sound of metal scraping against concrete. It echoed up ahead, and a fleeting silhouette darted past the open doorway. Breath catching in her throat, she dared to look. "Mommy!" Her daughter's voice rose above the chaos, tugging at every thread of her sanity. Panic surged anew, raw and desperate. The child's plea cut through the shadows like a beacon, propelling her forward. She plunged towards the sound, a haggard sprint fueled by pure adrenaline. The classroom door stood ajar, darkness swirling cautiously as if afraid to fully reveal itself. Just a little bit further, she urged herself. Stepping toward the darkness, her feet felt glued to the floor, heart pounding with each echoing pulse. The darkness seemed alive and breathed, pressing into her skin, whispering secrets meant only for her. As she reached for the door, cold fingers grazed her arm. She froze, trapped in that moment, eyes darting towards an invisible source, something more than shadow. Then came the piercing scream that unleashed chaos. It cut through the darkness like a knife, and in that instant she felt the stark reality of her choices hit her with blinding force. Would she uncover the truth about the school and those who lingered within, or would she join the chorus of lost souls, too late to save herself and the ones she loved? The door slammed shut behind her, leaving her in a swirling void. And Linda knew her fight was only beginning. Linda stood in the suffocating darkness, heart racing. The classroom enveloped her like an inescapable shadow, suffused with the scent of stale paper and dust. The whispers lurked at the edge of her consciousness, pulsing with a relentless, rhythmic chant that made her skin crawl. "Mommy!" The voice was closer now, but intertwined with the malicious laughter that made the blood freeze in her veins. Her instincts screamed at her to flee. Gathering her resolve, she pushed through the doorway, the hinges groaning in protest. The classroom lay empty, save for the scattered desks and a chalkboard smeared with cryptic phrases that sent chills down her spine. "They are watching," one said, letters scrawled in a jagged hand. It felt wrong, charged with an energy that reverberated through the air. "Emily!" she called, desperation clawing at her throat. The name slipped from her lips like a prayer, barely echoing back to her through the ghostly silence. Guiding her shaky steps deeper into the room, she spotted movement near the back, just a flicker in the corner of her eye. "Emily!" This time her voice cracked with fear, pushing her feet into a sprint. As she neared, a thunderous crash echoed behind her. A metal cabinet toppled, clattering wildly to the floor. Linda whipped around, instincts honed to a primal edge. Was it the school resettling, Or had someone or something tripped the cabinet down in the dark? Cold sweat pooled at the nape of her neck. "Mommy, help!" The voice rang louder, more frantic, buried under the harrowing weight of ghostly whispers that entwined with her thoughts. "Emily!" She surged toward the sound, heart pounding as the room twisted. Shadows danced on the walls, flickering like a broken film reel, feeding her panic. In a frenzied gasp, she tripped, her hands scraping against the cold tile floor. Pushing herself up, she caught sight of the window, a glimpse of the moon outside, a fleeting beacon urging her to escape. "I have to get to her." The resolve hardened in her gut. But the laughter persisted, childlike and taunting, drifting from dark corners as if the school itself was alive, feeding off her terror. Each step toward the back of the classroom felt heavier, as if the floor conspired to pull her down into the depths. "What do you want from me?" she screamed into the stifling air, a plea that hung unanswered. "Mommy, I'm scared." Linda's heart cracked anew at the unmistakable tremor of fear in her child's voice. "Just hold on, baby," she called. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, pale and distorted. Linda gasped and stumbled back, catching sight of her daughter's tear-stained face, framed by raven hair, an image of pure terror. The girl reached out, her small hand trembling as she called for her mother. Then she froze, eyes widening in horror. "Mommy, behind you!" The whispered warning came too late. Linda turned just as a glimmer of light flickered behind her. A long, dark figure coiled in the corner, a grotesque smile carved into its face, twisted with malevolence. Its eyes bore into her soul like holes in the fabric of reality. Linda's breath caught. She had stumbled into something far bigger than she realized. Whatever was lurking was awakened, and neither she nor Emily could hope to outrun it. The lights flickered again as time stretched ominously, leaving her with one haunting question: could she save her daughter before the darkness claimed them both? The shadow lunged, and with a deafening crack, the fluorescent lights shattered. In that moment, she felt the gnawing truth: the real horror was just beginning. Linda's world transformed into chaos as darkness erupted around her. The light's final flicker gave way to a suffocating shade that swallowed every beam of hope. She felt Emily's hand in hers, a fleeting warmth before the pelting shadows seized her. A wild cacophony of laughter and whispers enveloped them, echoing through the room with malevolence, each syllable like ice on her skin. "Let us go!" She tugged at Emily, her voice fierce yet trembling. Panic ignited a fire in her chest. But the little girl stood frozen, eyes wide with a mix of awe and fear. "Mommy, look!" Emily whispered, her small voice trembling as she pointed at the figure lurking in the corner. It loomed larger now, its grotesque smile stretching impossibly wide, revealing rows of sharp, gleaming teeth. Linda felt every ounce of protective instinct surge within her. "No! We have to run!" She yanked on her daughter's arm, urgency surging through her, but the child remained anchored in place, entranced. "Emily, please!" Desperation clawed at her throat, each heartbeat amplifying her horror. Suddenly, the figure tilted its head, as if weighing their distress with delight. Its eyes, dark voids, flared bright like lanterns in the night. Linda could see a glimmer of something deep within, malice wrapped in a shroud of twisted joy. Just then, the walls vibrated, shaking under the weight of an unseen force. "You shouldn't have come here!" it shrieked, a voice raspy yet melodious, each syllable serrated like a blade. The room distorted, angles bending as if designed to confound her senses. Linda shoved Emily behind her, shielding her daughter from the thunderous presence. "Stay close," she warned, feeling the ground give way underfoot like quicksand. She saw it then, a doorway just behind the looming figure, a beacon of escape now obscured by swirling shadows. The whispers intensified, overlapping in a frenzy of dread. Lost souls trapped forever, they wept, echoing Linda's very worst fears. Her breath quickened, every inhale suffocated by the chilling despair around them. "Mommy, don't leave me!" Emily whimpered, clutching her leg. "I want tea. I promise," Linda breathed. She gritted her teeth, lowering her shoulder to push through the terror. Time seemed to stall as she took a tentative step forward, urging Emily to follow, but the room shuddered, forcing her back. Another phantasmic laugh ricocheted against the walls. The darkness thickened, wrapping around them like an oppressive fog. Gritting her teeth, Linda snapped her fingers, trying to break Emily out of her stupor. "Emily! We need to go, now!" At that moment, the figure lunged, an unholy rush of inky shadows trailing behind it. Linda screamed, instinctively pulling Emily closer. They darted to the side, desperately trying to evade the clutches of the monstrous silhouette. They stumbled onto the overturned metal cabinet, sending its contents clattering to the floor: books, papers, memories long extinguished. With a sudden surge of adrenaline, Linda spotted a glimmer of hope, a flash of silver behind the chaos. "The window! We can make it!" she shouted, instinctively groping for Emily's small hand. The laughter morphed into a haunting cacophony, drowning out her hope. "You cannot escape unless you join us." A cold grip wrapped around Linda's ankle, a phantom hand from the depths of despair. "Mommy!" Emily screamed, and in that moment, Linda felt her reality split, a choice unfurling before her: together or apart. "Emily, hold on to me!" She yanked hard, pulling them both toward the suffocating window, the sounds of scrabbling shadows hot on their heels. But as they leaped, the figure screamed out, "You'll regret this!" For a brief second, they soared toward the glistening pane of possibility hung in the void, but Linda wondered, could they really escape the darkness that claimed so many before? And deep within her heart, a chilling dread settled: what if the real horror awaited them on the other side? As they flew towards the light, the shadow erupted behind them, furious and alive, whispering promises of vengeance. They crashed through the window, plunging into blinding brightness that momentarily seared Linda's vision. She squeezed Emily's hand tighter, praying their leap would land them in safety. The world around them spun wildly before settling into a muted gray. As their feet hit an uneven surface, Linda staggered, disoriented. She quickly scanned their surroundings. Nothing was as it seemed. The air was stale, the ground beneath them uneven cobblestones like bones sticking out of a grave. "Mommy, where are we?" Emily's voice quivered, pulling Linda back into focus. "I don't know, honey." Panic lashed at the edges of her calm. A narrow alleyway stretched out before them, engulfed in shadows even though it was day. Eerie echoes bounced off the walls, distant whisperings seeping into her mind. "We need to keep moving." With urgency, they stumbled forward, but something was off. The sunlight shone down but felt cold against Linda's skin. She paused, glancing back toward the broken window. It glimmered like a mirage, a threshold not entirely severed. Suddenly, laughter rippled along the alley, echoing in a round, mocking tone. It wasn't the same madness from before, but sweet, twisted delight. She turned her head sharply, catching glimpses of figures darting just out of sight. They lurked, half-formed in the corners of her vision, teasing her with blurred movement. "Mommy!" Emily gasped, tugging gently at her hand. "Look!" A child stood alone at the far end of the alley, a girl with tangled hair and hollow cheeks. She smiled, a smile too wide, showing too many teeth. "Don't go!" Linda warned, the instinct to protect rising inside her like bile. But Emily's eyes glimmered with curiosity, feet inching forward. "Emily, wait!" The girl giggled, light like chimes in the wind. "Come play with us," she beckoned, stepping deeper into the gloom. "It's fun!" Everyone's waiting. "No!" Linda shouted, shoving her daughter back. A pulse of fear raced through her. "We can't trust her." But the laughter echoed again, this time closer, as dozens of children appeared, swirling around them in a playful dance. Linda's heart pounded. "Stay behind me." The figures enclosed them, their eyes glinting with the same haunting void that trapped her. The rhythm of their whispers synced with the thrum in Linda's ears, each word a thread weaving a trap. "Don't you want to play forever?" "Mommy!" Emily cried, pulling against her grip. "I want to play." Linda's breath hitched as her heart sank. "Emily, no!" She sensed the shadows creeping in, a chill settling on her skin that felt like ice. She had to act. Reaching deep within herself, Linda yelled, "We're leaving." She turned and bolted down the alley, pulling Emily with her, dodging the grasping hands of the children who now howled with fury behind them. They raced down the cobbled path, each step pounding like a drum in her chest. The alley twisted and turned, a labyrinth of despair that seemed to shift as they ran. Linda caught sight of a door tucked away at the end, a sliver of hope amid encroaching darkness. "Hold on to me," she insisted, dragging them toward the door that looked both inviting and unfathomably sinister. As she reached for the handle, she heard the cacophony of laughter morph into something more sinister, shadows writhing as the children cried out. "Mommy, don't leave me!" Emily wailed again, terror wrapping around Linda's heart like a vice. With a deep breath, Linda flung the door open, a gust of stale wind blowing back at them. What lay beyond was unknown, a swirling void that beckoned them closer. The moment they stepped through, Linda felt the ground shift beneath them again, the pull of the darkness threatening to drag them back. She clutched Emily tight, heart racing, unsure if they had truly escaped or if they had stumbled into a new and worse nightmare. As the door shut with a resonating thud, she realized they were not alone. Faces emerged in the shadowy depths, eyes glowing with a predatory hunger. "Welcome back," they hissed in unison, dark glee painting their lips. Linda felt dread clawing its way up her throat. What had she brought Emily into? Would they escape this new horror, or had they made a choice that would seal their fates forever? The darkness enveloped them, heavy and stifling, wrapping around Linda and Emily like a cocoon. Linda blinked, trying to adjust her eyes to the new environment. Struggling against the weight of dread, she took in what lay before them. A dimly lit hallway stretched endlessly, walls lined with peeling paper that seemed to pulsate as if breathing. "Mommy, I don't like this," Emily whimpered, clutching her mother's leg. Linda could feel the chill of fear creeping up her spine, but she forced her voice to remain steady. "We'll be okay, just stay close." They began to move cautiously, each step echoing in a way that made her stomach turn. The floor creaked beneath them like the sound of bones cracking. Shadows danced along the wall, tangled limbs almost reaching for them. It didn't feel right. Panic clawed at her insides, whispering that every corner they turned could hold something waiting to pounce. Suddenly, the whispers returned. They slithered through the air, a chorus of soft, taunting voices that made her skin crawl. "You can't hide," they cooed. "You're already playing." Lurching forward, Linda shoved those words from her mind. They had to find a way out. A glimmer of hope sparked as they approached an archway at the far end of the hallway. Glowing light emanated from within, soft and inviting, piercing through the gloom like a beacon. "Mommy, look!" Emily squeaked, her fingers pointing eagerly toward the light. "Wait!" Linda hissed, pulling Emily back just as she began to move ahead. But it was too late. The moment Emily stepped forward, the light flickered, revealing a room filled with children. Their faces, familiar yet twisted in joy, turned toward them. Laughter echoed, but it was sharp, jagged like shattered glass. "Welcome! Join us!" they shouted, voices dripping with malevolence. "No!" Linda barked, panic bubbling to the surface. She pressed her hands against Emily's shoulders, feeling the tremors of her daughter's fear. "We need to go back." But the children surged forward, filling the archway, their smiles splitting their faces wide like hungry predators. Linda's heart raced, knowing they were surrounded. The very air felt charged, eyes hidden in shadows watching, waiting. "Mommy, please!" Emily cried, tugging at her. "I want to play." "No! We'll never leave!" Linda's voice was a desperate wail. She yanked Emily back just as a chorus of demands erupted from the horde. "Stay with us. Forever." Linda's mind raced. The weight of the choice pressed painfully against her chest. As the children approached, clawing and reaching with erratic, desperate hands, she felt some primal urge to protect her daughter rise up within her. But how could she save them from something so insidious? "Run!" she shouted suddenly, shoving Emily ahead of her. Their legs moved instinctively, pounding down the hallway, the sinister laughter morphing into furious howls behind them. With her heart pounding, Linda caught a fleeting glimpse of an open window down another corridor, a thin line of hope. She pulled Emily closer, tears of fear streaming down her cheeks, choosing to focus on survival. Just a little more, she urged, both of them stumbling desperately towards the light of the window. But as they neared, a shadow darted across the floor, quick and serpentine, vanishing just as she reached for the latch. The room burst into a cacophony of mocking laughter, echoing through the hall like a malicious symphony. The moment she turned the latch, cold air mingled with the stale atmosphere, almost feeling like a sigh of relief. She pushed the window open, and as she looked outside, the ground seemed to twist. A vast emptiness yawned before her, colors swirling unnaturally, daring her to leap into the unknown. "Mommy, please!" Emily cried from behind her, uncertainty flooding her voice. Linda swung around, desperation flooding her senses. "We can't stay here. It's worse than before." But just as she turned back, the shadows behind them converged, and the children hissed, "You can't leave! You're ours now!" With a scream that shook her core, Linda grasped Emily's hand, the decision made. They would dive into the unknown, a leap of faith into whatever lay beyond. As they leaped through the open window, Linda felt the world spin violently once more, all the shackles of darkness fading behind them. What awaited them on the other side? Were they truly free, or had they just entered a deeper nightmare? They tumbled through the window, falling into the swirling chaos outside. For a heart-stopping moment, they felt weightless, the world around them a blur of colors and shadows that threatened to consume them. Then, with a sickening thud, they hit the ground, not grass, not pavement, but a cold, damp floor that seemed to absorb their very presence. Linda gasped as the biting wind ceased, replaced by an unnatural stillness. She instinctively pulled Emily closer, her heart racing. She scanned their new surroundings, the air thick with a heavy, suffocating darkness that felt alive, pressing down on them. "Where are we?" Emily's voice quavered, the innocence within it melting Linda's resolve. "Stay close, honey," Linda whispered, forcing her muscles to relax. Fear gripped her, but she needed to appear strong. She needed to be the anchor in this storm of terror. Around them, walls with tarnished mirrors reflected jagged shards of their own fear. The mirrors warped their images, twisting Linda and Emily into grotesque caricatures, laughter bubbling up once more, swirling within this new space. "You've come to play," echoed in the silence, rasping like dry leaves in a tempest. "Not again," Linda choked out, backing away, dragging Emily with her. She could feel the presence behind them, unseen but palpable, a ghastly weight that made her skin crawl. A flickering light caught her eye, and in the corner of the room, another door stood slightly ajar, casting a golden glow. Without thinking, she pulled Emily toward it, praying this was a way out. The closer they got, the more she heard the soft patter of footsteps, like a parade of tiny feet approaching. "Mommy, they're coming," Emily whimpered, her small hand trembling in Linda's. Just beyond the threshold, shadows flitted, little figures writhing in anticipation. "Join us. Join the game," they sang, their voices sweet yet dripping with a venomous edge. "No!" she shouted, shoving Emily behind her. "We want to play. We just want to leave." Suddenly, the shadows lunged, a wave of ragged laughter spilling into the air, and Linda felt a chill wrap around her ankles. "You can't escape this time," the echoes shrieked, reverberating through her bones. Desperation clawed at her throat. The entrance loomed, yet the shadows began to swirl, limiting her movement, a binding net of dark energy that tightened around them. "Breathe, just breathe. This isn't real," she told herself, trying to shake the panic. They had escaped, they had to keep going. "Through the door," she urged, pulling Emily closer once more. The shadows recoiled slightly, and for the briefest of moments, she glimpsed a way through. "We have to push hard." With a primal scream, she threw herself and Emily through the shimmering light around the door. They tumbled into a realm that pulsated with color, much brighter than before. For a split second, it felt like relief, but that sensation shattered as the laughter gave way to piercing screams. The ground quaked, unsteady beneath her feet. The vibrant colors twisted, morphing into grotesque shapes, each vying for their attention. Ghostly faces emerged from the floor, twisted in anguish and madness, eyes wide with despair. Why did you leave? They moaned, clawing toward them, fingers stretching like spider legs. You belong to us. No! Linda yelled, clutching Emily tightly against her. The warmth of her daughter was fading, the chill creeping back into her heart. Suddenly, a tremor rippled across the ground, vibrating and echoing in the air. A booming voice cut through the chaos, deep and sonorous. You wanted to leave? You made your choice. Now you must face the consequences. Shadows converged, whispering dark promises, closing in on them. Emily shrank against Linda as her mother felt the very fabric of reality beginning to fray. In that moment of sheer terror, Linda glanced around, searching for any semblance of hope, a place, a sign, anything to guide them through the madness. Then she saw a glimmering portal, barely visible behind the writhing figures, pulsating with a soft, golden light. There! She pointed. Adrenaline flooding her veins once more. But the voices grew louder, more demanding. You can't go! You're ours! Hold on to me, Emily! We're going to run! And with that they surged towards the glowing hope, the shadowed laughter climbing into a sinister cacophony behind them. Would they make it to the portal? Or would they be pulled back into the nightmarish grasp of whatever haunted this realm? The chase was just beginning. The pulsating glow of the portal beckoned, its light fighting against the oppressive darkness. Linda could feel the icy tendrils of shadows clawing at her heels, pooling like oil around their ankles. Emily's grip tightened, her small fingers trembling. She couldn't let go, not now, not ever. Just a little further! Linda shouted, her voice fighting to cut through the cacophony of whispers that spun around them like a tornado. The shadows were a writhing mass, hungry and angry, their voices overlapping in a sinister chorus. You can't escape! One shrieked, echoing with the fury of lost souls. Linda surged forward, every muscle screaming in protest against the unnerving weight of the darkness. She could hear the laughter again, that taunting, horrible sound that sliced through her resolve. You don't know what waits for you beyond that light. Emily looked up at her, fear etched on her pale face. Mommy, I'm scared, I know, baby. We're almost there. Linda forced each word past the lump in her throat, her heart pounding like a drum behind her ribs. The shimmering portal drew closer, but the shadows danced, reaching out to her, grasping at her sanity. Mommy! Emily cried again, her voice piercing through the terror, and with it came a sudden wave of defiance. No longer would she let fear dictate her path. Run! Linda commanded, her own adrenaline spiking in response. They bolted forward, charging toward the faint light that became brighter, a promising haven that felt just within reach. But then, everything shifted. The portal flickered like a dying star, moments away from collapsing. Linda's pulse quickened. They could not let fear trap them here. We have to jump. Emily hesitated, fear freezing her in place. What if it's a trick? Time slowed. It's not a trick. We have to trust it. Linda shouted back, desperation filling her chest. She could feel the shadows tightening around her, breathing in their darkness. If they didn't act soon, it would all be over. In one swift motion, Linda scooped Emily into her arms, legs kicking, and propelled herself into the scarred light. For a fleeting moment, there was nothing but the hum of energy around them, a sensation of weightlessness, freedom, a heartbeat that pulsed in time with theirs. Then, the world exploded into chaos. They landed not in safety, but in a cold, dark room that was eerily familiar. Linda's heart sank. It was a different place, but the same shadows lurked, whispering urgently. Welcome home, they hissed, malice dripping from each word like poison. The walls were adorned with the faces of those who had come before them, twisted in suffering, mouths open in silent screams. No! Linda cried out, clutching Emily tighter, her mind racing. We can't be back. How can this be happening? In this realm, there is no escape. The shadows erupted, circling them menacingly. Will you join us for eternity? Mommy, make it stop! Emily begged, hiding her face in Linda's shoulder. With each breath, Linda felt her spirit waning, the despair wrapping around her as surely as the shadows did. But then, a flicker of defiance ignited inside her. She couldn't let them win. Emily, listen to me. We need to find the way out together. Count on me. A tremor rumbled beneath them, throwing Linda off balance. The laughter shifted, intensifying into a maddening cacophony. She felt the shadows inching closer, and chaos reigned in the air. This time, they were surrounded. Suddenly, a solitary figure appeared at the edge of the darkness, a child, pale and hollow-eyed, beckoning. Follow me, it sang plaintively, its voice seemingly the only sound that pierced through the tumult. What do we do? Do we go? Emily whispered, fear tangled with curiosity. Stay close, no matter what, Linda instructed, already moving toward the figure, drawn by something deep inside. The shadows loomed larger, hissing warnings, but she gritted her teeth and stepped forward. What did this ghost want? And would it lead them to freedom, or deeper into despair? Each step felt like an eternity, the pull of the shadows threatening to wrench them apart. The whispers rose to a whispering scream around them. The choice was growing closer: compromise her morals to gain passage, or to fight back against the entrapment of her soul. As the boy's silhouette danced away from them, the shadows bubbling with a deeper, more sinister threat, Linda's heart thundered against the rising tide of fear. What truth waited behind this ghostly child, and how far would Linda and Emily have to go to escape the horrors that pursued them? The child's hollow eyes sparkled under the dim light, leading them deeper into the shadows. Linda's instincts screamed at her to turn back, to run in the opposite direction, but there was something in the boy's gaze that held her captive, an eerie mix of innocence and malevolence. Don't look away, Mommy, Emily urged. The pressure of her daughter's small hand in hers felt like a lifeline, but also a weight pulling her down. Just a little closer, Linda whispered, casting one last glance back at the writhing darkness that surrounded them. The shadows seemed to pulse with menace, their whispers rising and falling like the tide. Come on, she urged, her voice slightly steadier than before. As they followed, the child led them through archways draped in thick, wet tendrils of shadow, each step echoing inside Linda's skull. With every heartbeat, the weight of despair grew heavier, darkness clawing at the corners of her mind. She struggled to suppress the thoughts swirling in her head. What if the boy turned out to be the very thing they were afraid of? Where are you taking us? Linda called, trying to pierce through the overwhelming stench of rot that permeated the air. A soft giggle filtered back from the boy, sending shivers down her spine. To play, he sang, his voice melodic and haunting. Play? Emily echoed, tilting her head in bewilderment. Play with us, a chorus of other children's voices joined in, suddenly surfacing from the obscurity, echoing with a sickly sweet allure. The shadows began to twist, taking on vague, childlike forms. They grinned with sharp, jagged teeth, eyes gleaming with hunger. Linda's heart dropped. Emily, we need to go. She swung her daughter behind her, but the child was too engrossed in the spectral scene. What if they just want to have fun? Emily asked, her fascination evident. No, Linda said sharply, panic catching her breath. This is wrong. Behind her, the shadows coiled tighter, a cacophony of laughter mixing with wails as the darkness surged forward like a wave. Fingers of gloom reached out, threatening to snatch Emily away, to drag them both into a playtime that would last an eternity, a perverse game of misery and despair. Help us find happiness, the boy whined, eyes blinking wide and innocent, yet monstrous beneath the surface. A sickening sound bubbled in Linda's throat, the urge to scream trapped behind fear. Join us. The shadows twisted around her, taunting. The ghostly forms of children began emerging, faces twisted in desperation, terror hidden beneath a facade of joy. Their laughter melded with the cries of the damned, a spectral symphony of joy and pain. Linda could feel the emotional pull of the shadows, wrapping around her heart, trying to settle in. Mommy, they're nice, Emily exclaimed, tugging at Linda's arm. The innocence that radiated from her daughter was like a beacon, yet it only added to Linda's dread. The child's laughter caught like shards of glass on the softest part of her mind. No, Linda snapped, fighting the impending swarm of despair that whirled around her. They're not nice! Desperately, Linda searched for an exit as shadows whipped around them, forming a solid wall that seemed to close in, the children's laughter turning into something far more sinister, echoing around her like an insane hymn. "What do we do?" Emily squeaked, her small voice hanging in the oppressive air. Linda squeezed her eyes shut, fighting back the darkness creeping into her thoughts. "We fight!" she shouted, allowing a surge of rage to propel her forward. She turned back to the boy, burning with defiance. "We will not play your game!" The ground trembled, and the shadows recoiled as if struck. There was a moment of shocked silence, and then the laughter erupted again, maniacal and furious, echoing in a storm of chaos. "What have you done?" the boy shrieked, eyes wide now with fury and betrayal. "Come on, Emily!" Linda grabbed her daughter's hand, racing toward a glimmer that flickered in the darkness, a small sickly light that promised escape. But the shadows would not let them go easy. The laughter was relentless, a vicious tide rising, threatening to pull them back into the abyss. Linda barely registered Emily's terrified gasps as they sprinted toward the light. And in that frantic heartbeat, a single thought struck her: what if the escape was worse than the darkness they fled? As they reached the edge of the flickering light, Linda glanced back. The boy stood there with a twisted smile, whispering words laced with poison. "You can't escape your fate!" They leapt into the light just as the shadows lunged forward, ready to seize them once more. But what lay beyond that glow? Was it a gateway to freedom, or a twisted prank on souls searching for salvation? And then, just as it felt like they might break free, everything went dark once more. The world around Linda and Emily fell into complete darkness. It felt thick, almost like a tangible weight pressing against them, squeezing the last remnants of hope from their lungs. Linda held her breath, feeling lost, disoriented, and terrified, as if the darkness had wrapped around her like a shroud. But the soft warmth of Emily's small hand in hers anchored her to the present, a flickering light amidst the overwhelming void. "Mommy," Emily's voice trembled, low and uncertain. Linda could sense the unease gripping her daughter's heart, yet a determination welled up inside her, igniting her spirit anew. They had fought too hard to let despair win now. "Hold on tight, sweetheart," Linda whispered, her voice steadier than she felt. "We'll find a way out. I promise." With each word, she poured all her love and strength into their bond, calling to the deep well of hope that had started to fade. Suddenly, a low murmur broke through the silence, like a whispering tide. "You cannot escape," it swirled around them, sinister and melodic. The moment sent a chill down Linda's spine, a reminder of the malevolent spirits that had chased them this far. But in that ocean of despair, something within her snapped. "No!" Linda shouted, her voice rising above the oppressive whispers. "You don't own us! We refuse to play your game!" Instantly, the darkness pulsed and quivered as if responding to her defiance. The chilling whispers shied away, momentarily stunned by her fierce determination. A flicker of light appeared ahead, glimmering like a star trapped amidst shadows, a beacon flickering against the inky blackness. Holding on to Emily's hand with fierce resolve, they moved towards it. With each step, the light began to grow, pushing against the oppressive darkness that sucked the courage from their souls. "Mommy, I see it!" Emily cried, her voice full of newfound hope. "The way out!" "Yes," Linda gasped, her heart racing, feeling the tide of fear begin to turn. "That's our way home." In a sprint, they charged toward the light, desperation and love propelling them through the void. As they ran, the oppressive whispers turned to howls of rage behind them, the shadowy figures closing in, grabbing for them. "Faster!" Linda urged, feeling the icy fingers of darkness tickle the nape of her neck. They were so close. The light reached out, shimmering with promise, urging them to push harder. Just as they reached the gleaming threshold, Linda threw herself and Emily through the doorway of light, not daring to look back. The moment they crossed the threshold, a rush of warmth enveloped them, a golden glow swallowing the shadows whole. The world around them shifted dramatically, vibrating with vibrant colors and life. Linda blinked, her eyes adjusting to the heavenly brightness. They were standing on a sun-drenched grassy field surrounded by trees that swayed gently in the breeze, a stark contrast from the horrors they had just escaped. "Mommy!" Emily squealed, joy lighting her features as she danced in the grass, her laughter ringing melodically in the air. It filled Linda's heart, and soothed the aching fear that had gripped her for so long. Linda knelt, wrapping her arms around her daughter, holding her close and breathing in the moment, breathing in freedom. "We're home, baby," she whispered into Emily's hair, emotions crashing through her like waves. The echoes of darkness still lingered behind her, but they felt distant now, like fading echoes of a nightmare. They stood there together, embracing amidst the serenity, each heartbeat a solid reminder of resilience, love, and hope that carried them through the storm. Linda felt the weight on her chest finally lifting. "Let us never go back," Emily said, looking up at her mother, her blue eyes wide and sincere. The reality of the past haunted them both, but here, under the sun, they could finally start anew. "Never," Linda affirmed, her heart swelling with love. They turned, hand in hand, walking toward the horizon, ready to embrace a fresh start together. The lingering shadows of Riverbend High, of malevolent laughter and haunting echoes, faded into a distant memory. As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden hue across their path, Linda couldn't help but smile. They had faced the darkness and emerged stronger, united by the strength of their love. This was a new beginning, and just as they stepped deeper into their future, a gentle breeze whispered through the trees, carrying a promise of safety, hope, and the resilience to face whatever lay ahead. Now that you've reached the end of this chilling tale, don't let the adventure stop here. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss our next exclusive stories. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm, and keep the mystery alive. Flood the comments section with your reactions, share your thoughts and theories about Linda and Emily's haunting journey. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this conclusion. Join our community of true fans and let us keep the excitement going.